After a few hours traveling, Billy and his guys are perched behind a shrub, observing the front of their target, Crafty's bank.
This town was beat up, ugly looking place, but Billy insisted we stay until he cashed out at this bank, Crafty's bank. The name still runs a chill down my spine.
Grab and go.
Billy, hold on.
Shut up, both of y'all. I'll tell you what to do.
Carl's significantly older than the rest of the guys. He's got a mean-looking mustache that extends beyond both sides of his face. His jawline could cut paper, and his olive skin is glistening with sweat.
What happens if they got a gun?
If they start shooting, we get the hell out of there.
We ain't leaving until we're ready.
Listen, Carl, I can't play fast and loose with my life. Maybe you can, but I ain't willing to die over this.
Then what the hell you doing robbing
I
banks?
just about had with you two. Y'all been fighting ever since we brought Carl in.
If you pansies are done, can we get this moving along, please?
Listen to me, Carl. If they got guns, I'm out of there.
If you leave us in there, you're dead meat, kid.
The guard's been gone for a minute. Let's go.
Get behind the counter!
Christopher darts behind the counter and starts loading money into a burlap sack.
This is a bank robbery. If you try to move, I'll shoot you dead, you hear? Go, Chris, faster.
I'm going, you son of a bitch.
Keep an eye on the back door, baby.
I got it, Carl. Focus on yourself.
What'd you say to me, boy?
Carl, keep it together.
The back door screeches open. The man who had earlier left the building enters the room with the shotgun drawn.
Now, if y'all don't freeze where you are right now, shoot each your blocks off.
The men freeze. Billy stands in front of him with his handgun drawn. His eyes bulge with fear. His tan color leaving his face pale white.
Listen, kid, put the gun down. I don't want to hurt you.
Don't you put that gun down, Billy, so help me God, I'll shoot you myself if you do.
A bead of sweat slowly runs down Billy's greasy forehead.
I've got a wife and kid. Please, please let me go.
Put the gun down, kid. I can help you.
I'll kill you right here, Billy. Don't you do it.
Please, dear God, I'm begging for my life here. I'll never do this shit again. Please just let me go.
I'll give you one more chance, kid. Put it down, Billy. He ain't gonna shoot you.
Like hell I won't.
Carl cocks his gun and points toward Billy. Nico raises his gun at Carl.
Carl, what the hell is wrong with you?
Billy weeps as he slowly lowers himself to the ground.
Oh!
Carl, shot in the leg, hobbles out the door. He gets to his horse.
Wait, grab Billy.
Get your ass outside.
No, Carl, we have time to grab
Get on your horse, Christopher.
Christopher runs outside and hops on his horse, terrified of sharing Billy's fate. They ride their horses out of town. Nico rushes back inside to Billy, who's moaning and writhing in pain on the ground.
Where were you hit?
Billy moves his hand away from his left shoulder to show a seeping red spreading amongst his brown leather vest.
Oh, Jesus.
I got a wife. Her name is Abby Castle. She lives just on the outskirt of town. Please, please tell her I love her. And tell her I'm sorry.
Come on, kid. You're gonna tell her herself.
Nico rushes outside to the sheriff, who's conveniently just arrived.
We need a doctor.
Who's Assad?
He's just a kid.
I'll call the doc.
Nico returns inside,
Doc's coming.
but Billy is unresponsive.
Oh, man.
Nico stands over Billy, who's bleeding out onto the wooden floor. Hours later, the guys have escaped the hand of the law. They sit around a campfire in a deep wooded area, counting the money they got away with.
You're responsible for whatever happens to Billy. We should have brought him.
It was either the money or Billy. We didn't have the hands for both.
You left him.
You could have stayed with him and gotten yourself arrested.
He's probably dead. Don't forget that you shot him.
I warned that kid what would happen if he put that gun down.
We're on the same side. Why would you shoot him?
Now you know that I'm crazy enough to follow through with whatever I say. So please, stay in line.
You're...
What? Sit down, Christopher.
Christopher hesitates, then sits down.
We gotta find out if he died. We have to tell Abby.
I don't care what you do.
The only person who was decent enough to tell me my husband was killed was Nico, the bank owner.
Back at Abby and Billy's house, Abby stands at the sink, washing a bowl. In the distance, she hears a horse trotting up to the front of the house. She peers out the front window to see a man she's never met, getting off his horse and walking up to the front door. He carries a small bouquet of orchids.
It had been 1 day since the bank robbery at Crafty's. Billy usually waits 3 days to come home in case anyone's following him. So when I saw Nico, I knew something was wrong. Little did I know this was going to be the worst moment of my life.
Ma'am,
Who are you?
my name is Nico Kraft. I own the bank in town.
What do you want here?
Are you Billy Castle's wife?
How do you know Billy?
Ma'am, I think you know how I know Billy.
Abby checks the front window again.
I'm not with the sheriff, ma'am. I'm here alone and unarmed.
Why should I believe you? Why are you here?
Will you please open the door?
Abby grips her baby bump. The only thing on her mind is protecting her unborn child.
Ma'am, your husband was shot and killed in the robbery at my bank yesterday. I'm sorry to tell you that he's dead. Ma'am, are you okay?
Were you the one who killed him?
No, ma'am, I was not. His last wish was for me to come here and to tell you that he loves you and that he's sorry.
You're sure he's dead?
I was with him when he died.
Abby leans against the door. Her face drops. The sparkle in her eyes disappears.
Will you open the door?
After a beat, Abby slowly cracks the door open. Nico raises the orchids to the crack in the door.
My condolences.
As Abby opens the door, she accepts the flowers.
Would you like to come in? I was making dinner.
If you'd like me to join you, I'd be happy to keep you company, ma'am.
Please. It's Abby.
Nico walks into the house, removing his worn beige cowboy hat.
I don't think I really processed Billy's death until Rose was born. Don't mistake that for me not caring. I can't even begin to explain the pain I felt with the loss of Billy. It was worse than childbirth, and that ought to say something. I mourn Billy every day, but I'm blessed to still have a piece of him with me in my life. Our child, Rose.
The next day, Christopher had broken off from Carl, determined to figure out what had happened to Billy. Under a tree, he leans against the side of his horse, his hat perched on his forehead to keep the blazing sun out of his eyes. In the distance, a man on a horse gallops toward Christopher. He removes his hat, peering off into the distance to see an older man, Lipton, riding towards him. He hops to his feet, waving his hat in the air, hoping he'll stop for him. Lipton pulls to the side, stopping in front of Christopher.
Can I help you with something?
Christopher flashes him a stack of cash.
I got money. I just need a favor.
I'm listening.
I can't go into town right now, but my friend was involved in the bank robbery at Crafty's. He was shot, and I need to find out if he's alive. I need you to go in town and ask the doctor. Don't leave without getting a definite answer. I need to know.
What's his name?
Castle? Billy Castle.
Lipton rides off, back into town. Later that day, as the pink sun begins to hide behind the dust-ridden ground, Christopher rides up to Abby's house. They sit on the front porch of the house, a cool sweat on their foreheads.
Abby, I'm so sorry. I have something to tell you.
Abby places her hand on Christopher's.
I already know about Billy.
You do? How?
The owner of the bank came to the house and told me.
Oh, Abby, I'm so sorry you had to hear it from him. I didn't even find out until today.
I'm sorry for you too, Christopher. He was your close friend. I can imagine you're struggling with this loss as well.
Did you hear who shot him?
Well, I assumed it was the sheriff.
No, Abby, Carl shot him.
What?
The bank owner kept telling Billy to put his gun down, so when he did, Carl shot him.
So, Carl, he killed Billy?
I'm sorry, Abby. He's being buried in town. I can't go, but you can.
When?
2 days?
I'll go. Thank you for coming, Christopher. but the heat's really getting to me. I need to get some rest.
Christopher helps her stand up, then gets back on his horse, disappearing into the horizon. Back in her house, Abby closes the front door and wanders into her bedroom. Nico sits in a rocking chair, reading a book.
Nico, Billy's being buried in town in 2 days. I was wondering if you'd come with me.
Oh, yeah, of course I will, Abby.
Nico and I got to spending more time together. He helped me through the extent of my pregnancy. He'd often come over for dinner and spend the night, but not in a romantic way. At least, not on my part. But I think he just felt obligated to help me because of the baby. Even though he didn't kill Billy, he felt for me. Nico turned out to be a good man.
2 days later, the funeral comes and goes. Across from the cemetery, there's a popular saloon in town. From inside it, a shadowed figure looks down upon the dusted road. He steps into the sunlight to show Carl, most of his face blocked by a dirty white bandana. Nico and Abby slowly walk towards the exit of the cemetery. He sees a close friend and quickly excuses himself from Abby to say hello. As Abby stands alone, waiting for Nico to return, Carl approaches Abby.
Hi there, miss. I was wondering if you could point me in the direction of Crafty's bank.
She points down the street.
Thank you. Sorry for your loss, by the way.
Carl gestures to her black dress and umbrella. Abby nods in response.
I'm sure Billy was a nice guy.
Carl walks away.
Pardon me, how do you know his name?
Let's just say I'm an old friend.
Carl winks, then swiftly walks out of sight. Suddenly, Abby winces in pain, her world spinning around her, feeling pain shooting from her stomach, from her head, unsure of her surroundings. She grabs her stomach, lowering herself to the ground. Nico quickly rushes up to her, kneeling down.
Abby, what's wrong? We need a doctor.
Abby winces in pain as a few people rush around her. Later that day, back at Nico's house, Abby lays in bed, asleep. The doctor, a tired man worn down by life, exits the room, followed by Nico.
You're a good man, Nico, the way you've been taking care of Mrs. Castle here.
It was the right thing to do.
She's going to be fine. However, she's enduring a lot of stress with the loss of her husband. Just keep her off her feet for the next month. Any more moving around could put the baby in danger again, so it's your job to keep her off her feet. Do you understand me?
Nico nods, shaking his hand.
Thanks for coming, Doc.
Doc nods and exits the house. Nico walks back into his room and leans against the doorframe, watching Abby sleep. His stone face cracks a subtle smile. Later that night, Nico sits at a wooden dining table, nursing a glass of brandy, when Abby's sweet voice calls to him.
Nico! Nico!
Nico gets up, rushing into Abby's room.
Are you okay?
Oh, there you are. I just had a dreadful dream. I'm glad to see you.
Nico steps around to the side of the bed and pulls up a chair.
Doctor stopped by earlier today. He said you're going to be just fine, but you need to rest.
Well, I should be getting back home tomorrow.
Actually, Doc said you should stay with me.
He did?
Yeah, he did. So, I'll take care of you up until you have the baby.
Well, that's awfully kind of you, Nico, but I'd hate to be a burden on you. You already helped me so much ever since Billy.
Yeah, it's okay, really. I enjoy having you around at times. Can I make you some dinner?
Who am I to turn down a man making dinner for me? Ain't that a first?
I'll be in the kitchen. I'll holler if you need me.
Later that night, Nico brings dinner to Abby in bed. There they sit, the two of them eating their small plate of dinner. They laugh, exchanging important memories and stories of growth that stood the test of time. But later, deep into the night, when the two of them are asleep, Nico lays next to Abby, a pillow nestled between them. Nico awakens to a quiet sob. Next to him, Abby is bundled up in her nightgown, a muffled weep spilling out of her lips.
Abby? Abby, are you okay?
I'm sorry, Nico. I didn't mean to wake you.
Nico moves the pillow wedged between them to display Abby's face, which is lined with the wetness from her tears. He wraps his arm around her limp body as she sobs.
I miss Billy.
Oh, Abby, I know.
I think part of me felt guilty that not long after my husband's death, I'm being taken care of by another man. Not just any man, the man who watched him die. I would often remind myself of that. Would Billy want me to be with this man?
Nico holds Abby close as she shakes from her muffled cries.
It's gonna be okay, Abby.
Why didn't you tell me about Carl?
What about him?
That he killed Billy.
How do you know?
I...
Have you spoken to one of the robbers?
No,
If any of them talk to you, you need to tell the sheriff. They need to be arrested, Abby.
I haven't seen them.
You need to promise me, Abby.
I don't need to promise anything to you, Nico. Look at you. I've been having the worst time of my life. I'm pregnant with my dead husband's child. I'm here alone. I miss Billy. And here you are yelling at me. Good night, Nico.
Abby flips to her side, tussling with the bed sheets.
Abby.
Good night, Nico.
Nico sighs, turning to the opposite side of the bed.
I forgot how much I needed to keep from Nico. I know enough about them to get them all arrested, but I wouldn't dare. Although they did something terrible to Nico, I won't be any part in their demise. Except for Carl. I have my own thoughts about that.
The next morning, Nico awakens with the morning sun. As he leaves for work, he stirs Abby awake, caressing her cheek.
I'm leaving.
Okay.
About last night, Abby, I just wanted to...
Abby places her hand on his arm.
Please, don't.
I had no right to...
Nico, let it be.
Nico nods.
I'll be at work just down the street if you need anything.
Nico turns to walk out the door.
Oh, Nico. Where do you keep your gun?
What?
Your gun. Where is it?
Well, I bring it to work.
You don't keep one in your house?
Why do you want to know where it is?
What happens if someone tries to come in here and kill me?
Well, why would someone try to kill you, Abby?
I'm talking nonsense, Nico, but I feel better having a way to protect myself. I'm a pregnant woman lying here alone in bed all day. I sit here day in, day out.
All right.
Nico walks over to a closet in the room, his heeled boots smacking the hollow floor with each step. He pushes some clothes to the side of the closet.
Take the plank of wood out of the wall. It's back there.
Abby nods, a tiny smile cracking on her face.
Thank you.
I'll be back later tonight.
Nico leaves, closing the front door behind him. Abby hops out of bed and follows Nico's instructions. She pulls the plank out of the wall, and there it is, Nico's double-barreled shotgun. A few hours later, Abby stands outside, facing a line of glass bottles that sit on the dry, cracked ground. She points the shotgun at the bottles. Later that night, Nico comes home to Abby making dinner.
Abby, what are you doing? You should be in bed.
Typically, your response to this situation should be thank you.
I'm more worried about your health than my etiquette. Would you please sit down and let me finish this?
Fine, gosh, try to do something nice for someone.
Nico leads Abby to the dining room table, helping her sit down.
I wanted to thank you for all your help over these past weeks. I wouldn't have gotten through it without you.
Of course, Abby.
You took in a pregnant woman, a man who robbed your bank, and you've taken care of me day in and day out.
Abby, you do not have to thank me for this. It was my honor. I meant to ask you, what do you plan on doing after the baby comes?
Well, go home.
So you won't stay here?
Why would I stay here?
I was thinking, if you needed help with the baby.
Oh, no, Nico, I wouldn't ask that of you. I've already been so much of a burden to you.
I wouldn't mind at all. I like having you around here.
I can't, Nico. You don't understand what we're talking about here. Raising a child, helping me to take care of a child, that is too much to ask. You've done more than enough.
What if it's what I want?
What?
Did you ever think that maybe I want this life? The baby? A wife to come home to?
I suppose I hadn't thought of it like that.
I'm 40, Abby. Life gone passed by me. But you came around. Everything that scared me, it makes sense now.
Nico,
Abby, you should stay with me.
I'll think about it. How's that?
It's better than nothing.
But it's important you know how grateful I am for you and everything you've done for me.
Abby grabs Nico's hand. They stare into each other's eyes.
You're welcome.
The next morning, Abby wakes up with the sunrise. She gets out of bed, glancing back at Nico as he sleeps soundly. She changes her clothes and then heads to the closet, slowing all of her movements while she pulls the shotgun out of the wall. With the red and yellow light guiding her way, she lifts herself onto Nico's horse, slowly trotting out of sight. After an hour of travel, she arrives at the doorstep of a stranger. She intentionally knocks on the door, and after a moment, Carl swings open the door. His eyes widen at the sight of Abby.
What the hell are you doing here?
There's something we gotta talk about.
Would you like to come in?
Abby marches in, followed by Carl. He sits across the room from her in a creaky rocking chair.
I'm not gonna lie, hon. It's weird seeing you here. Why are you here?
I wanted to talk to you about what happened.
About what happened?
The robbery?
Oh, right. Billy?
No. Billy's share of the money. Where is it?
Well, Billy lost his share when he died.
When you shot him? That's what I heard happened.
I hated to see the kid fall.
Did you? I bet it was really hard for you.
It was.
Why did you leave him?
Sheriff was down the street. We had to get out of there.
So you left him behind?
Again, we didn't have much choice.
Yes, you did. You always have a choice. Especially you, as a self-declared leader of the gang. You made the final call.
I was doing my job. And as unfortunate as the result of it was, that's just how it was.
I want his share of the money.
Oh, man, there's absolutely no way that's happening.
Why not? Billy died robbing this bank, and I'm about to have his child. I need that money more than anyone.
Abby. You're a brave woman coming all the way out here to manner that I give you the money. But there's a fine line between being brave and just being stupid. You must be out of your damn mind.
Abby takes a deep breath, keeping all her anger inside for just a few more seconds.
If you'll excuse me, I left my canteen with the horse, and I'm feeling a little uneasy.
Abby quickly paces to the front of Carl's house, where her horse is waiting by the porch. From the back of her saddle, she pulls out Nico's shotgun. She storms back inside, pointing the gun at Carl, whose tan and chiseled face is now pale as a ghost.
What the hell are you doing?
You shot and killed my husband. You took him from us. Now you give me the money, goddammit, or I'll shoot you right now.
Ain't no way you'd actually shoot me. You may be angry, but you won't shoot me while you're pregnant, Miss Castle. That ought to be bad luck or something from where you come from.
I'll shoot you between the eyes right now if you make me.
No, you won't, little missy. I can't see that.
Abby shoots Carl in the left shoulder, same injury as her late husband. Immediately cradling his wounded shoulder, Carl glares up at Abby.
Are you out of your fucking mind?
Where's the money, Carl?
Carl freezes for a moment, reviewing his options in his simple-minded brain, questioning if she really had the guts to kill him. He rises from his chair, wincing at the pain shooting through his arm, slowly staggering over to a pantry behind him, opening the door and pulling out a bag. He opens the bag and pulls out a wad of cash. Raising the cash up to her, he offers the small amount. They lock eyes. The vision of her dead husband flashes in her mind. The fact that she'll never be able to see Billy again. Everything this shell of a man stole from her. This man that stands in front of her with no regrets, no remorse, and no desire to right his wrongs. Abby swings the shotgun to aim at Carl and shoots him in the chest. Carl drops the money, gasping for the breath that had been taken away from him. His face pales, his mouth drops, and he collapses to the ground. His body thuds against the floor, shivering as his soul slowly leaves his body. Abby stands over Carl, watching the life slowly leave his eyes.
You deserve every bit of hell you receive.
Abby goes over to the pantry, pulling the sack of money and slouching it over her shoulder. She walks out of Carl's house, crouching over like a bewildered Santa Claus, shotgun in one hand and sack of money in the other. She sits on the step of the house as hours pass, waiting for something. But soon enough, Christopher rides up on his horse, immediately hopping off and rushing up to Abby. A look of relief washes over her.
I wasn't sure if you got my letter.
Looks like I got it just in time.
Christopher eyes the shotgun in her hand.
Is Carl inside?
Abby nods.
I did what I needed to do for myself. I don't expect you to
I
understand.
understand. I'm surprised nobody beat you to it.
Christopher sits next to her on the porch.
You're one strong woman, Abby. I don't know how you do it. I mean, look at you.
He gestures to the baby in her belly. She's due at any point now.
Let's get out of here. Come on.
Christopher stands up, taking the bag and shotgun from Abby and offering his hand to help her up. She accepts, slowly rising to her feet and clutching her belly with her free hand.
We need to make a stop first.
A few hours later, Abby arrives at Nico's house, shotgun in hand. Nico hastily opens the door, desperate to see her face.
Abby, where you been?
He embraces her, holding her tightly.
I'm sorry I left this way. I had something I had to do.
You're on bed rest, Abby. You can't be running around town with my shotgun wherever you please.
Nico, I came back for one reason. We need to talk. Let's go inside. Nico, I've done something that makes it so I can't stay here anymore.
What are you talking about?
I can't tell you what I did, but I need you to trust me when I say it was necessary. And when you hear about it, you have to promise me that you won't think of me poorly.
Abby, talk to me. What happened?
I'm leaving, Nico. I'm traveling west with a dear friend of mine who will take care of me, so you don't need to worry.
Abby, you're talking madness. I'm not letting you leave. You need to be near a doctor. What are you talking about? What have you done?
I can't tell you, but I brought something back for you.
Christopher steps into the room, the bag of money in hand. Nico's eyes widen.
You were one of the guys that robbed my bank.
Wait, Nico, he brought the money back.
Is most of it. Abby Castle, I've never met anyone like you.
I want you to keep the money. It's yours. I think the guys ran off with the rest of it, but this is the majority.
Nico shakes his head.
How did you get this back?
You'll hear about it soon enough. I need to go, Nico. Thank you for everything you've done for me.
Abby kisses Nico on the cheek, to which he burns a bright pink. She quickly exits, but Nico chases Abby out, holding the bag.
Abby!
She stops in her tracks.
Take half. You need this more than me. Just take half. Don't fight me on this.
Abby smiles, reaching into the bag and taking as much as she can carry.
Well, I'm glad I didn't have to beg you to take the money.
Abby smiles up at him.
And Abby, I want you to know that, well, if things had been different.
I know. Maybe in another life.
Nico smiles faintly, his sad eyes falling toward the dusty earth.
Goodbye, Nico. I never saw him again. Funny how a stranger can so quickly become the center of your world, all to become a stranger again. I often draft letters I knew I'd never send him. I knew if he had my address, he'd follow me. I had the baby about 3 days later. Not a doctor in sight, just me and poor Christopher. I think I scarred him for life after he saw that. But he's been good with Rose, helped me wherever I need. Carl's murder was eventually discovered. I never heard anything more about it, though. Christopher, Rose, and I have been traveling since Nico, and every so often I'm reminded of him and everything that happened. And now I look up to the future, hoping I'll find a nice little house to settle down with Rose. If only Billy were here. No matter who I take out of this world, I can't bring him back. That's probably what hurts most.
Okay, cool. Yay!
Go team.
Woohoo!
Good job, guys.